This T-Rex is working out like crazy because he's about to become a father. One day, he gently taps on his son's eggshell. Unexpectedly, the eggshell suddenly cracks open. What emerges is actually a baby ankylosaurus. The little one's eyes light up, convinced that the T-Rex is his father. This leaves the T-Rex completely stunned. But seeing how adorable the little guy is, the T-Rex ultimately decides to adopt him. Perhaps it's because he himself had a similar fate. Many years ago, a dinosaur egg was washed away by a river. A passing Maiasaura mother rescued it. To prevent it from being eaten by other dinosaurs, she brought it back to Egg-laying Mountain, raising it as her own child. But the good times didn't last long. Vile thieves came to steal the eggs. Thanks to the mother's desperate protection, the last 2 eggs finally hatched healthily. The big brother was named Light, and the adopted little dinosaur was named Heart. But little Heart had a mouth full of sharp teeth. The clan leader immediately recognized him as a carnivorous dinosaur. Without another word, he tried to stomp Heart to death. The mother desperately shielded him with her own body. In the end, Heart survived, but the clan leader ordered the mother to abandon him, or else the whole family would be exiled. That night, the mother took Heart to the red berry bushes, as there was plenty of food there. She didn't want Heart to starve to death, but Heart seemed to sense he was being abandoned. He let out a pitiful cry. Hearing the cry, the mother, who was about to leave, fell to her knees in anguish. She finally decided to leave the clan and raise both children alone. As the days passed, although Heart didn't know he was a T-Rex, he realized he was completely different from his brother. His brother liked eating leaves and acorns, while he only liked soft fruits. He often snapped off lizard tails and sucked on them like pacifiers. He also couldn't help but chase after small animals. One day, while searching for food, Heart climbed a tall tree and unexpectedly saw a vast plain in the distance. Heart felt a mysterious calling. He then sprinted out of the forest he had grown up in, but accidentally stumbled into a T-Rex hunting ground. They were surrounding a lone Triceratops. Suddenly, an enormous T-Rex appeared, ending the Triceratops' life with a single bite. Witnessing this, Heart tried to flee, but his legs were frozen in fear. Before he could crawl far, a T-Rex named Zen blocked his path. They were very curious why Heart, clearly a T-Rex, smelled like a herbivorous dinosaur. Just then, the giant T-Rex also approached. He was the king of the plains, Buck. Heart was nearly scared out of his wits. Unexpectedly, Buck was very friendly towards him. Not only did he carefully ask about Heart's family situation, he even thoughtfully reminded him to be careful on his way back. But as soon as Heart left, the T-Rex named Zen secretly followed him. Soon, Heart encountered his brother who had come looking for him. Just as his brother was comforting Heart, Zen appeared and attacked his brother. Light was pinned firmly under Zen's foot. Even so, Light kept yelling for his little brother to run. Then Zen revealed a cruel truth. He said Heart was not his brother at all. His true identity was a ferocious T-Rex. Hearing this, Heart became furious. He said Zen was lying and immediately tried to punch him. But little Heart was no match for Zen. He was quickly subdued. Zen forced Heart to bite his brother's throat himself. At that moment, the savage genes in Heart's blood were fully awakened. He sank his teeth into Zen's tail, refusing to let go no matter how much Zen struggled. He ultimately bit off Zen's tail entirely, and even swallowed it. Heart's ferocity scared Zen, who fled in panic. But tasting the deliciousness of meat for the first time made Heart lose control. He took a bite towards the brother he grew up with. However, he quickly restrained his urge, and ran away without looking back. Meanwhile, the mother had gathered a large pile of Heart's favorite fruits, but she didn't know her beloved youngest son would never return. And because of this, another troublemaker appeared on the plains. After running away from home, Heart began intense training. 10,000 push-ups daily, 20,000 flying kicks, 30,000 rock climbs. He even mastered headbutting to perfection. He not only grew into a strong T-Rex, but also became the most terrifying predator in the eyes of herbivorous dinosaurs. But Heart only targeted old, weak dinosaurs, and he specifically hunted within Zen's territory, just to mock him, until one day, an abandoned dinosaur egg appeared, completely changing Heart's fate. Heart crouched by the egg and gently tapped it with his finger. An unbearably cute baby ankylosaurus hatched just like that. Looking at this little snack before him, Heart couldn't help but say, "He looks delicious." This made the little one's eyes instantly shine. Heart initially wanted to eat him in one bite, but surprisingly, the baby ankylosaurus wasn't scared at all. Instead, he hugged Heart's ankle, repeatedly calling him Papa. Before Heart could react, the little guy climbed onto him and asked if his name was Very Tasty. Before Heart could figure out how to respond, the little one said he was hungry and started crying and fussing on Heart's head. Helpless, Heart lifted him high up. Unexpectedly, the little guy tried to stand up like him, but almost fell to the ground. This gave Heart a fright, and he scolded the little one, warning him that kids shouldn't walk on 2 legs. He had to wait until he grew up. After saying this, Heart realized something was wrong. He was actually worried about the safety of his food. This frustrated Heart, who could only pretend to console himself, thinking that Very Tasty would be more delicious when he grew bigger. To prevent Very Tasty from seeing his ferocious side, Heart went off alone to hunt. Soon, Heart caught some prey, but before he could finish eating, he started worrying about Very Tasty and hurried back. Just then, a carnivorous dinosaur spotted Very Tasty. At the critical moment, Heart arrived and delivered a flying kick that sent the carnivore flying miles away. Furious, Heart scolded Very Tasty to stay away from strangers, but in the blink of an eye, the little guy disappeared again. The worried father was beside himself with worry. From then on, the plains had a T-Rex constantly searching for his child. Poor carnivorous dinosaurs suffered for no reason. Just as Heart was grieving for not finding Very Tasty appeared, toddling on his short legs, carrying a large pile of red berries on his back. But Heart was already furious and yelled at Very Tasty. This made Very Tasty so upset he rolled around on the ground. It turned out that after learning his dad didn't like eating plants, Very Tasty had been searching everywhere everywhere for tasty red berries just so he could share a meal with his dad. Hart realized he had wrongly accused Very Tasty, so he picked up a red berry and popped it into his mouth, praising him for finding such delicious fruit. But this familiar taste made Hart involuntarily think of the mother who raised him and the brother whose arm he had bitten. Hart also realized that one day he too would have to leave Very Tasty. Before that, he needed to make him strong. The father and son began intense training. Step 1. Practice dodging to avoid predator attacks. Step 2. Practice headbutting. Step 3. Use his hammer-like tail to attack enemies. Final step. The ferocious dragon roar. Very Tasty quickly learned all the skills, but Hart also told him that after he left he had to learn to live alone and be strong. Very Tasty thought his father was abandoning him and immediately burst into tears. He clung tightly to Hart, refusing to let go, but Hart had already thought of a plan. He challenged Very Tasty to a race. If Very Tasty won, Hart would stay with him forever. The race began. At first, Hart pretended to chase him. Very Tasty, afraid of being overtaken, closed his eyes and ran forward desperately, completely unaware that Hart had turned around and left midway. Clueless, Very Tasty kept running and ended up bumping into Zen, who was eating. The T-Rexes also noticed the little guy. Very Tasty immediately used his ultimate move, the ferocious dragon roar. Hart heard this and quickly followed the tiny footprints. By then, Very Tasty was being kicked around like a ball and was soon tormented to the brink of death. When Hart arrived, he saw Zen about to eat Very Tasty. Seeing this, Hart was enraged. He had never been so angry before. He headbutted Zen away and scooped Very Tasty into his mouth. Hart didn't let any of the T-Rexes off, beating each one severely, even shattering Zen's teeth. Finally, a powerful headbutt KO'd him completely. Just then, Buck appeared. As the king of the clan, he had to punish Hart. Ultimately, Hart was exiled for viciously attacking clan members. He was forbidden from ever returning to the plains. From start to finish, Hart didn't say a word because he was afraid the Very Tasty in his mouth would be discovered. Before leaving, he glanced towards Egg-laying Mountain where his mother was, then ran off into the distance without looking back. At that moment, he became a true father. But the good times didn't last long. Hart discovered that the volcano on Egg-laying Mountain was erupting, and his mother was still there. So Hart immediately took Very Tasty and rushed into the forest to find her. They encountered the Mayasora clan, whose new leader was his brother, Light. With the lava approaching, the Mayasora clan didn't want to leave their home. Hart had to threaten them, saying he would eat them if they didn't evacuate quickly. After saying this, he promptly put Very Tasty into his mouth. The Mayasora were terrified by this sight and fled for their lives. Hart anxiously searched through the forest. He knew his mother could have returned to the clan, but had been stubbornly waiting for him to come back. Finally, Hart saw his mother at their home. The long-separated mother and son embraced tightly. Then, 3 little heads popped out of the tree hollow. They were all Hart's younger brothers. Hart then began evacuating his family, but his mother accidentally fell off a cliff. Very Tasty desperately bit Hart's tail. At the critical moment, his brother Light arrived in time and saved them. And because of Hart's threat, the clan had already evacuated to a safe place. Just as they were about to successfully escape, the king of the plains, Buck, blocked their path. To protect his family, Hart had to fight. But during the fight, Buck only focused on defense and was soon beaten black and blue by Hart. But Buck laughed. It turned out that years ago, while driving away a group of Southern, Buck had unfortunately lost his own egg. Seeing Hart, who was exactly like him in his youth, he had guessed everything. As the volcano kept erupting, the ground shook more violently, but Buck had no intention of letting them go. He let out a roar to the sky. In the ensuing fight, Buck used his immense strength to suppress Hart at every turn, and Hart's combat potential was fully unleashed. After a fierce head-on collision, Hart seized the chance and bit Buck's neck, but Buck tightly embraced Hart and charged forward directly. Then he leaped into the air. Ending the fight with the force of a crushing victory. Seeing Hart was unconscious, his mother rushed forward to protect him. Very Tasty also followed closely, guarding his father, but Buck didn't press the attack. Instead, he thanked the mother for raising Hart. In the end, they all escaped, but Hart refused to live with his mother, as only then could she return to the clan. Hart deeply understood his mother's love for him, and he would inherit this love and responsibility, accompanying Very Tasty on their journey forward.